And with this move that the Niners have made, going up to number 3, trading with the Dolphins, and the Dolphins doing another trade with the Eagles and all that, then saying that Jimmy G is not being traded, it seems very interesting right now in San Francisco. Are they moving on from Jimmy G? Are they getting a quarterback? Michael Lombardi, I assume you know more than anybody else that's currently talking about this publicly. What do you think about this whole thing?
Well, look, they didn't trade 2 number 1s in future years to get a tight end. I mean, let's just be real clear. They didn't trade 2 number 1s to draft a receiver. You know, you only make this kind of trade when you're trading for a quarterback. And, you know, and let's start from the beginning. You know, you're sitting there, you're in San Francisco, you say to yourself, we need to get one of these quarterbacks. So what do? You start making phone calls. You call the Jets up and you say, look, we're going to give you 2 number 1s. We're going to give you our 3rd this year, and we're going to give you, you know, the 12th pick overall in the draft. Will you flop? The Jets say no. Okay, now you know the Jets are taking Zach Wilson. Pretty easy to figure that out. They say no too quick. Then you call the next team, Miami. You say, look, we'll trade 2 number 1s. We'll trade you our 3. We'll flop from 3 to 12. We'll get 3, you get 12. The Miami says, we might be interested. Then Miami says, look, if we get to 12, we could probably get back to 6 with one of those ones. Call Philly. That's how it all comes together. And I think the only way you do this is if you say to yourself, write 3 names on the board. You know, we would take Lawrence, we would take Wilson, we would take who's the 3rd. And that's the question we're really left with. Who is the 3rd?
How did Zach Wilson become the absolute number 2 in this entire thing? Because all season it was Justin Fields. Then Mac Jones got hot. Now Zach Wilson seems to be the clear-cut number 2. How did that all come to be? And when do you think the NFL got to that point? Like, hey, this guy's going to be the guy.
I think if you watch Zach Wilson play as a junior, you watch the SC tape. You know, Clancy Pendergrass was the defense coordinator at SC at the time. A lot of different combination of blitzes. Zach handled it pretty well. They moved the ball effectively. You know, they upset USC. They were able. Then he got hurt, and then you knew he was a good player just from that tape. And then he got hurt. And then this year he just came in and played, and he played really well. The guy's got great skills in terms of arm strength, movement, athleticism. He really has everything you want. And I think the longer the evaluation goes, with more tape, it became fairly obvious that he was the 2nd best quarterback in the draft. Some people think he's the best quarterback in the draft. I'm not in that camp, but some people do.
Mike, excuse me, do you think it helps when scouts and GMs are evaluating a guy like Zach Wilson? Does it help the fact that he played for BYU and he wasn't at, say, like an Alabama and has 4 All-American receivers? He has great players around him, but maybe not set up as well as some of these other quarterbacks.
And they always say that they're playing against nobody, but also who they have on their team is a pretty big deal as well, right, Lombo?
Right, but I mean, look, here's what we do with Alabama. So Mac, let's take Mac Jones, for example. Somebody in the offices are cutting up every time Mac Jones, like if you watch the beginning of the Georgia tape, or you watch any of the games where there's people around him, where it's really uncomfortable in the pocket. We call that tape his under pressure tape. So you watch that tape because there's too many times when he's not under pressure. So you focus your attention on the under pressure tape. And then you get to watch Zach Wilson and you make the same kind of tape for him, under pressure tape. And then you've got to take yourself out of it. Okay, he's got great arm strength. He can throw the ball in rhythm. I think what separates Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence from some of the other guys is they can throw the ball with anticipation. And you don't need level of competition to determine that. You know, when you watched certain quarterbacks at different level, you could see that. You could see they couldn't throw with anticipation. That's a critical thing to evaluate.
Can Jimmy G do that? And is this and okay, so hold on, Lumbo, 1 second, because it looks like the Jets are going to be out on Sam Darnold. Did we ever get a chance to really evaluate Sam Darnold? I would assume you say yes, we have, but a lot of people say he was under Gase, so who knows if he's even worth a damn. Jimmy G took that team to a Super Bowl, gets hurt. They have a COVID year. They get kicked out of their own stadium. Now he's potentially sent out of there. That's something those 2 teams have to think about, right? Well, are we making an upgrade at the position? They're thinking clearly yes, you think?
I think if I were the Jets general manager, I would have called. Look, I think Sam Darnold's a talented player. Does he turn the ball over too much for me? Yeah, he does. He really does. Can I fix that? I don't know. How much better is he than? How much better is Zach Wilson than he? I'm having a hard time measuring that, right? So for me, I would have made this trade if I were the Jets. I would have gone to 12, and then I would have thought about getting up to 6. And, you know, now that I'm at 6, I could maybe get up a little bit to get the tackle from Oregon and still have a lot of assets. So I think you can't fall in love. The one thing you can't do in a draft is fall in love. You can't. I like Darnold. I would give Darnold another chance with this system. I also think Jimmy could be a really effective player. I think Jimmy needs to be, the Kyle Shanahan system proved really well. He took him to a Super Bowl, but their drop back pass game is limited. Jimmy needs to be a little bit more into that. I wouldn't give up on Jimmy either. I think this is risky, but as I've said on this show before, Kyle Shanahan never really was all in on Jimmy Garoppolo. He was all in on Kirk Cousins. He took Garoppolo only as an asset. He was going to flip him after the season. Garoppolo won all those games. He couldn't flip them. Cousins got ridiculous money. So because there wasn't that link to them always, I don't think Kyle ever really watched Eastern Illinois tape and said, man, Jimmy Garoppolo, that's my guy. I got to have him. I think he did that with Cousins, and I think he's done that with whatever quarterback he's going to pick, whether it's Mac Jones or Trey Lance or it's Justin Fields.
Who do you think? Who are you leaning towards? Justin Fields?
My instincts tell me it's Mac Jones. They tell me Mac Jones is one of the smartest players ever at Alabama, that he's teaching Billy O'Brien the offense at Alabama. Think about that. He knows it so well that when Bill O'Brien came in from the Texans, that they sat him in a room with Mac Jones, and Mac Jones went over everything with him. That's pretty impressive. I think Mac Jones is a better athlete than people give him credit for, even though his body looks like he's never seen the weight room.
A lot of quarterbacks.
I get that. And so I think there's that element. Remember, Kyle Shanahan drafted Matt Schaub when he was in Atlanta. They had Matt Schaub in Atlanta and made him play really well. Nobody would confuse Schaub's third-round talent with an athlete, right? He was a good quarterback, and he played well in the NFL. So that's part of me. I think it could be Lance. It could be Lance or Jones. I'm not sure. My instincts tell me it should be Mac Jones, because Mac Jones is going to do everything that Kyle wants to do, but that doesn't always fit Kyle's vernacular. Although, tell me, Mac Jones, if you put him next to Kirk Cousins, what would you think? They would be similar, right? So it's all just don't believe what you read in the paper. Don't believe what you're reading. Because remember, there's a narrative control element to what some of the insiders say. It's not their fault. I'm not blaming them. They're getting fed a story. Well, it's your job to figure out if it's a story, if it's real. It's not their job to tell you.
Well, we just report on those people that are reporting, by the way. So we would like to let her know that we do not know if any of it's real. Connor, what do you have?
Yeah, Lombardi, the Patriots were rumored to be very high on Justin Fields because of what you just said, and it's all bullshit. That's just a smokescreen then?
Stop! No! Stop!
He pounded the table right there.
No, I'm not responding to a bogus rumor because somebody tweeted, I think Justin Fields would be perfect. No one knows what makes Belichick tick when it comes to taking quarterbacks. And I can tell you, I'm not saying he's not drafting Justin Fields. I would say there's a high probability that what you just started asking me that question is completely wrong.
How about another question here real quick?
Fill in. I hate to interrupt your question, but I'm just saying the premise as it starts is completely wrong.
Okay.